All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And we out here once again, got a lot going on, so we're going to get right into it. As you had the World Cup, the so-called World Cup that kicked off, I believe it was on the 11th, so about a day or two ago. And you sort of have a lot of things that have been going on as of late. You know, a lot of distractions, and we know what that means, right? Usually, whenever you would have these kind of major distractions on different fronts, it's usually to hide something else, right? In some cases, they're red herrings, and a red herring was basically used to throw off the scent. Like if you had a search party with dogs that are really good with their scent, you're good. You're good. So good. Dogs that are really good with their scent, their nose, they're able to pick up on a different scents. And so if they were tracking somebody or chasing somebody down, they would use what's called a red herring. I believe it's actually a fish. Let me just look it up here to confirm. But it would basically throw off the scent. Red herring. Yeah, it's a fish, but it's used to refer to, as it says, something that misleads, distracts, or diverts attention from a relevant or important issue, topic, or question. It is commonly used as a rhetorical strategy, plot device, or an argumentative fallacy to steer an audience away from the truth. Okay, so that's where it comes from, right? They would use that to basically throw off, or you could use that to throw off the scent of the animal, of the dog, and so it would lead it another way, and it wouldn't be able to fully track wherever you're going. And that's what they do today, right? They use events, obviously, um, to throw off people's minds, right? Because right now we're in a society where the people do not trust their governments, right? All around the world, the people don't think that their governments have their best interest in mind, and a lot of them are onto it because now it's going beyond just a suspicion. Now you have us amongst, along with other so-called truthers that are, mostly on their part, they're bringing out the secular information, right? Information about, certain documents and certain events that are happening. And we're bringing out the full truth, tying it in with the scriptures. So having these voices here that are confirming the suspicions that people have, it's leading them to have less trust in their governments, and that's making them more on edge. And so as they're on the trail of these things that their governments are doing, that these elites are up to, they got to throw and use the tactic of red herrings, i.e. bread and circuses, right here, your Knicks game and all of these and this and that and the Iran conflict and then the this and that World Cup. We're gonna do it this way this year. All of these things they use in order to distract the people, to get the people off their back. You know something? You were gonna say something?
It sounds exactly like the movie. I forgot the name of the movie. No series. I believe Charlemagne knows the name. It was about for the last four Caesars. I think those about to die, something like that. And the people were onto the government, and they started rioting. And then the higher ups, they were like, start the games. They had started early, and then as soon as they started it, everybody that was rioting, they ran to the Coliseum, with the food in their hand, just trying to watch the gladiator games. And they completely forgot about what they were writing about. And after that, they all went to the houses and slept and stuff.
And that's exactly what it is. So it's a quote unquote tried and true tactic, right? That they see throughout history. A lot of the findings and stuff that they use in our time, they look at history, right? They look at things that have been repeated over time in history. They look at how did people react when that happened, and they see patterns, right? They see these patterns, and they're like, yeah, this works, right? This didn't work only in the ancient times. It worked in more modern times, different ages where people lived differently. You had different empires that ruled, but what stayed the same? These very same tactics stayed the same, no matter who was ruling, no matter what the influence or the culture was. So that means that it has to be true, right? Like things like addition. Addition doesn't change regardless of what time period you're in. So when they see those things, they're like, oh, okay, we can use that in this time. Because if we create the perfect conditions, they're going to react exactly how I want them to react. That's the fallacy in the human mind. They find it and they exploit it. And that's why they're able to do all these crazy, I mean, they're doing some of the most insane things that have been known to mankind in this day and age. Shalom. They're doing some of the most insane things that have been known to mankind in this day and age. And in this very time, people care the least about it. You know, because every time they try to wake up, it's like being injected with anesthetics. You know, and there was this video that I saw. It was, I don't even know if it was like a prank they were playing on him, but he looked like a Issacharite, and he was he was gonna go get surgery, and so he laid in the bed, and they gave him the anesthetics, and then right before when it started kicking in, they were like, okay, we're preparing you for your sex change operation. So he goes down, he's like, huh? No. Section, no, I'm not here for that. And the thing is, you know, but he was fighting it. Because them anesthetics, they be strong. You can't fight that shit. You can be talking mid-sentence and go down. No, he was determined. He would go, he'd come back. You go, no, I'm not here for that. You know? So that's what it is. It's like they whenever people wake up, they hit them with the anesthetics, you know, and then they with the bread and circuses, and it distracts them, and then they go back to sleep. Oh, the Knicks, you know, did the 1 point winning shot, and he shot the ball, and the guy came and did the when they dropped the thing in there, and then bam, you know what I'm saying? They got it. Look, you know that when they're practicing, like basketball, for example, people think basketball is so unpredictable, but when they're practicing, right? When you're practicing, I can let you get points on me. You know what I'm saying? And you can let me get points on you. That's not something that's impossible to do. You know, so if they tell you like, hey, this like in WWE, they tell you, hey, this team is supposed to win here, they know how to do that. You know what I mean? Long story short, they use these theatrics to get the minds of the people, and every time it starts to wear down, they hit them with some more anesthetics. All right, and they put them right back to sleep. And that's the art that they've mastered. That's why this place is called in like Alejandro always said, Insomniapolis. All right, the sleeping city. So you got that precept, and brothers got anything too. You can always just unmute so we can hear you.
That's also a reason why they're able to tell us exactly what they're gonna do, but people don't bat an eye, and they just go ahead and do it because, I mean, silence means consent. So they just do whatever.
Try that in the court of law, but you're right. You know, and that's Damn, I was gonna say something about that. Oh, revelation of the method, right? They tell you now. They're not gonna come and they're not gonna come and tell you what they're about to do before they do it to a society that is already privy and sharp in the mind, because they're gonna have a lot of riots and mobs and uproar. You know, in the past times, you used to have a lot of mobs. Today, you got people protest. They know they're gonna have mobs on their hands if they come and do that shit while people are still aware of what's going on. If they went and grabbed that dude when he got into the hospital and they said, yeah, we're ready for your sex change operation, and he didn't have no anesthetics, they would have had a problem on their hands. So they got to make sure they give him the shot first before they go ahead with that. You got it, bro.
Hey, Shalom, Yahba Shemel Shabrakatham. Yeah, I just wanted to add to Amna's point that basically silence being consent. And when you look at the laws on rape, even though like you said, in the court of law in this society, that ain't gonna work. But in this in our laws, it does say that if a woman is being taken and she doesn't raise her voice, that means that she is consenting to it. And that's why it's so important that we raise our voice as a trumpet and speak out against it and let it be known that we ain't with the shits. We ain't with all of this crazy shit that's going on, because, you know, that's against our power. That's against the will of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua and what he wants us to do. So, you know, there is a silence, you know, a consenting silence of these people, in that if you ask them, they might say, "Oh yeah, I'm not with that." But you ain't out there speaking and banging the drums to let it be known that you ain't with it. You're not speaking against the MOTB. You're not speaking against what the elites are doing and all the wickedness in this society. Only time you speak up about it is if you're asked, and that's not being proactive. You got to speak up. You know, like the woman that would be, a woman that was being taken, she had to raise her voice and holler and let it be known she not with this happening. Otherwise, then what are people going to think? Well, okay, you must have been cool with it then. And that's the majority of these people in this country, America, Babylon the Great. They are okay with it, you know. But to save face, if they're asked a question, they might say, "No, I would never do that. You know, I'm not with that." But deep down, they're apathetic towards it, and apathy is the same in the eyes of the Lord. If you're apathetic, that means that you're okay with it. You're cool with it. You're with the shits. And most of these people, they're complacent and they're okay with how the society's being run. They might have their little gripes and their complaints, but when it comes down to it, they will still choose this enslavement to this matrix over being liberated and being in the kingdom, you know, for you so-called Blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. So I just wanted to add that. Y'all got it.
That's it. Oh, there's a precept. Real quick, let's jump there real quick. Since you mentioned that, Jeremiah 5:31. All right, because you mentioned about Brakatah, consent through silence, and the Lord doesn't deal with bystanding or neutral zone. He don't deal with no neutral zone. Don't come and say, "Oh, well, you know what? I'm neutral." He says, "He that is not with me is against me." So you better be down with me, because if you not, ain't no new. You ever had a neutral zone on the battlefield? Two sides come to war and there's a neutral party. You know what I'm saying? They're just going to step up in the middle, you know. The problem with neutrality, so-called neutrality, is that it doesn't exist. You either going to flip-flop, and when you jump here when you see it's good for you, or you're going to jump here when you see it's good for you. You see the side winning. This guy tried to do that. Herod, he tried to do that with the war between Augustus and Mark Antony. And originally he was on the side of Antony because of Cleopatra and shit. And I think there was some close relationship going on there. But then when he saw that Antony was about to lose, then he switched sides to Herod. And I believe that's why he built that Caesarea in honor of Herod in order to get close with him. And apparently he got real close with him. He even put his sons on trial because he started going mad and he started thinking that they wanted to kill him. You know, but he had a close relationship with him, but he was trying to play that, I'm gonna be on this side. When he thought it was gonna be more advantageous to be on that side, he tried to jump over there. Oh, they ain't playing that. You either over here or you not. End the story. Yeah, get that real quick, and then I think I saw somebody. All right,
Yeah, real quick, and that's why the Lord emphasized not being lukewarm, because lukewarm is like you're. He said either hot nor cold, right? So it's either or. You got to be on one side. That's why Yahushua also mentioned how you can't serve two masters. You got to have one side. You can't be on both sides. There's no way. All right. What you do with that is you become double minded, right? As is written in James the second chapter. James 2, right? James 2:8, I think, where it says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So if you straddling both sides of the fence, what happens is you become very unstable. All right, you become firm when you're on one side, right? Because you understand the steps you got to take, you understand the levels that you're gonna have to go through, right? But if you flip-flopping, it's like you make a little progress here, you stop and then go start over here, and then make a little progress, then you come back and continue this, and then you forget, oh shit, what was I supposed to do on this side again? You keep doing that, you're not going nowhere. You end up on a longer journey of confusion than just being on one side, right? So you're better off doing that than being on both sides. So I guess that's the point, being made there. But you got it, bro.
Yeah, that's right. I think it was James 1:8. But yeah, to the point that you were making. So let's get that real quick in Jeremiah.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 5:31, and it reads, "The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests bear rule by their means."
Yeah, and that's these false prophets. So don't be surprised when you see all the things that you're seeing now. It's not new. Okay? It's not new. That's why we have a precept for everything, because everything's already happened. and now it's the same things happening over and over and over again. Same spirits, different bodies. So just like back then you have false prophets and that they were prophesying lies. All right, actual lies. And then they would go and say, "Oh, thus saith the Lord." And it got to a point where during Jeremiah's time, the Lord said, look, nobody's allowed to use the phrase, thus saith the Lord anymore. Y'all just going to tell lies of your own mind and then just stamp it with the thus saith the Lord. Go ahead.
There's nothing new under the sun.
That's right.
And my people love to have it.
So,
And my people love to have it so. And what will ye do in the end thereof?
there you go. And my people love to have it so. So just like I was saying about them consenting onto these things, that's the nature of Israel. That's why the Lord called them sottish children. And the Lord says, your ways are unequal. So going back to what we were talking about before, with all this bread and circuses that's happening, that they're pushing at a high stream, super high bandwidth, you know, they're getting a lot of people under that spell. They got people who don't even watch sports talking about the Knicks game, because a lot of people they have a hive mind in a negative sense. They don't have individual minds, and they value things relative to others. Right now, yes, value is to a degree relative, right? Like, how do you know when something is hot? Well, you got to have cold, you know? Like, how do you know when this car looks nice? Well, if that's the only car that exists, of course it's going to look nice. It's the only thing that exists. But when you compare it to a new car or a different car, now you're like, oh, okay, all right, this looks better than that. The concept of like something being better or nicer is comparison, right? Nicer, usually what comes after is than. Nicer than, better than, smarter than. That's comparison, okay? So yes, you know, value is relative to some degree. But the thing with these people is they value things that other people value. Not that they don't, sometimes you don't even like the thing. Why do people buy Cybertrucks? Not because it looks good, but because other people bought it. Why do people like Teslas? Because everybody was talking about Tesla at one point. The freaking Yeezys, and I remember at one point this guy came out with freaking clothes that were torn. It's literally torn, ripped up clothes, and the shoes looked terrible, but everybody was getting them, and they were ugly as shit. But why did they get them? Not because they looked good, not because they felt comfortable, but because everybody was getting it. That's the hive mind. So you don't even watch sports, but because everybody's talking about the Knicks, oh, I gotta go see the Knicks game. Oh, look at this video. Look at the way he scored that final thing. Okay, so how does that actually work? What was that? What do you call that? That thing that he did at the end? Oh, I don't know what it is, but you know, it looked good to me. And you never gonna watch basketball after that. So that bread and circuses is contagious, because even if you don't care, even if you don't know what it's about, Super Bowl, a lot of people don't understand football. Because as straightforward as it may seem, it's really not. It's more complex. And then a lot of people don't watch it because they understand it or because they want to understand it. They watch it because it's an event. Oh, the Super Bowl, and a lot of people are there. And you got the chicken and the beer, and you got the halftime shows. That's why a lot of people go and watch the Super Bowl. Some of them don't even care which side is winning and which side is not. But that's how they get you with the contagious disease of bread and circuses. A lot of people are going to be on it, so you're going to jump on the bandwagon. When you jump on that wagon, they're going to be doing other things behind your back. So right now, they're doing things behind the scenes. A lot of people have not been paying attention, but what they're pushing for in the UK, with what they call the Online Protection or Privacy Act or something like that, they claim is to protect children. Now, listen to the things that they're saying. They're saying, and whenever you're dealing with like anything in general, when you make a statement of ambition, this is what we want to do, you need to think about how possible that actually is with what you have. And what does that actually mean when you say we want to do this? So they're talking about on-device regulations, right? They say, no, to protect children from taking inappropriate pictures, viewing inappropriate pictures, and sending inappropriate pictures, we need to enforce checks on the device level. What that means is your phone is no longer your phone. That's our phone now. All right. Before, the checks used to be on the server side. So meaning in some warehouse, some data center somewhere, if you try to connect to it, they're gonna say, "Oh wait, are you 18 years or older?" You ever seen those? You try to go to some app and it says you got to confirm that you're 18 years older. Even on YouTube, they'll say, "Oh, this has graphic content, so you can only proceed if you're 18 years or older." But wait. All you gotta do is click yes. A freaking 13-year-old could just go ahead and click yes. And next thing you know, they're watching some graphic content. I got you, Shalom. So how do you actually enforce making sure that only people that are age appropriate can do these things? And that's the part where things get more intense. How do you make sure that when somebody's taking a picture on their phone, they're actually of age before they can take that kind of picture? They got to put software on your phone so every single picture you take is run through some system that they are surveillancing, and then they can give you the go ahead or not. That means every picture on your phone, every file in your phone is being watched constantly, because they can't say, well, we're going to do it one time, because if they do it one time, what about the next time? So these are the checks that they're talking about and tying it to your digital ID. So they know that you ain't going to have just a child takes their parent's phone and starts using it. No, you take the phone, now they got to scan your face, make sure it matches with your digital ID before they allow you to be able to even set up or use your phone. You got it. I think you had something, Shalom?
Yeah, I just want to, my bad about my voice as well. I just wanted to go back on the whole Knicks thing and stuff like that. And like how you mentioned, like a hive mind. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Knicks haven't won a championship to like since like the 80s or 90s or whatever. But if you look, like I've been watching videos on Instagram and stuff, you observe how people are acting. Like there was one clip I seen where this dude's in a Spider-Man costume on top of a freaking traffic light thing, like this and all that on top of it. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, if you're gonna act like this, if you're gonna act like this over a Knicks game, how are you gonna act when Jacob's trouble? Think about it. This is supposed to be some celebratory moment, like, hey, the Knicks are close to winning a championship. I almost said Super Bowl. They're close to winning a championship and stuff like that, right? This is our moment. Like this is what New Yorkers have been wanting for forever, for the Knicks to finally win a championship. And this is how you people are acting. The minute they see anybody in a Spurs jersey, they ripping the jersey off. They fighting with people. They fighting the cops. So if you're gonna fight over something that's supposed to be celebratory, how much are you gonna fight with people when it's not celebratory? When it's your life on the line and things like that? I'm just observing that while I'm watching this, and it's just seeing like these people really just have a lot of spirits on them, and a lot of them are just animals. Cause like this is how you act when it's supposed to be a celebration. This is like, again, this is the New Yorkers moment. Like, yo, we finally got what we wanted. Like, they're here. They just got to win, like, what is it, 2 more games? So imagine if they do, when I've been sending bro stuff in the chat, like Ashiar, he knows. The minute, what you call it, sorry, they win the freaking championship, the whole city might blow up because these are just going to riot and just break everything. So it's just showing you how people act when, you know, stuff gets crazy. That's all.
You know what's crazy? It's their own city too. Somebody was saying that. They're like, yo, bro, you're literally vandalizing and destroying your own city that you live in. Why? They started booing his ass. They said, hey, get your ass out of here with that shit, right? And just like you were saying, Shalama, one thing that always interested me is, yes, like, okay, you know, you may have a team you support and so on and so forth, but when you start going to these like crazy levels, and then you stop and say, okay, whether they win is interesting, right? I'm looking at a car right now, and they got the Knicks logo literally on the 2 seats and the little header seats right there. But once you win, or once your team wins or loses, what does that actually do for you? You get happy because they won, but you don't have a championship. You're not getting paid NBA All-Star money. Your rent is still going to be due at the end of the month. Your car note is still due, and your chick is still giving you problems, you know, and shit like that. That doesn't change. Nothing about your personal life changes other than the fact that you can be happy and say, oh, yeah, the Knicks won. You know what I'm saying? Or damn, the Knicks lost. What does happen, though, is the stupid shit you go and do has consequences. So now you go and assault somebody because all that shit you running around and you beating up people in the street, you know that's battery, right? And that's literally an assault. So when they press charges and they catch your ass on camera, stomping this nigga's face out, and now you in court before a judge, how you gonna feel about that? That's the thing that they don't think about. Because of something that does not literally affect your actual life, yeah, it may affect your mental, but why would you now, off of something that doesn't affect you, now go and do something that will affect you? That's the stupidity in people's minds. They don't think. Like, what's that chick's name? Sukihana, I think that was her name. I don't think, I just do. And you know what? That was actually a profound statement because that generalizes and describes the majority of people. They don't think, they just do. And she's right, she doesn't think. That's why the chick said, you're a musician. She said, I ain't no musician. I don't do no magic. Bitch, what? Listen, get off the show right now. Get her ass out of here. But yeah, we got in there. But
I had a quick point. I was just gonna say, you know, to your point about These people living for this moment, you know, they're gonna do some dumb shit, crash out, and Brunson ain't bailing you out of jail, nigga. You know, Cat, whoever, what's the other dude, OG Ananobi. You know, they're not gonna give a damn. Okay, when you idiots gonna do something, they'll probably rebuke you. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck he was thinking. They threw an egg at Wemby's head, you know, because what people are seeing now, the exposure of this is that New Yorkers are pieces of shit, man. You know, for the most part, like the masses of people in New York are pieces of shit, man. This is a shitty place. And I just had another point. I didn't want to forget it. In reference to what you said about, you know, the YouTube and the IDs and things. The new thing they added, I don't know if brother saw this. When you share a video now, it has to be tied to your account. And basically, whenever you share something, you know, because you might share YouTube videos with like other people outside of the truth. Like, it doesn't have to be related to the truth. It could be like an instructional video about something. They're going to see, oh, Dyed Garments from Basra sent you this video. Do you want to, like, I don't want them to know about what I got going on, but now they putting it to where like we want y'all to be out front with what you're doing. Like you talking that Israelite stuff, right? Well, now we want you to be on front, everybody, which is basically moving into the point where they want to put us on Front Street and they want to put us out there in the media. And it's like, that's Esau's last, that's really the only thing he has against us, is to try to make us look bad in front of people around us or make us look bad at our job. But at that point, we know the Lord is going to make his move. So go ahead and do it, you know. But I noticed they're trying to make that push, because I was going to send a video to a woman I'm dealing with, but I don't want her to know my page. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, damn, I had to hesitate for a second. Like, all right, well, I'm not going to send this right now. But it's just a weird thing. I'm like, why now? Why add that now? Because now it's, oh, well, everybody should know who you are. Everybody should know what you're about. Your YouTube channel should be tied to your identity. That's the whole point. Your YouTube channel, well, that's who you are. So be that, and everybody should know what you're about. You know, but which we know we have to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So he's trying to make it harder for us to do that, to be Clark Kent, by making it so that when we share videos, everybody's going to see. You know, let's say you wanted to share a video with your parents about some recipe for food, and now they're gonna see who's this? Who's Bakar Moth 144? Who's son of the right? You know, who's Aharon? What is this about? You know, who's men of valor? What's that? Israelites? What? So that's just gonna cause it to be more of a hassle for us, really. But at the end of the day, we embrace that challenge through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Just want to add that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I noticed Instagram also started doing that. They tell you the exact profile, and then it'll be like, do you want to follow this person? You know, whenever they send you a link, even if it's not from Instagram, you know, if it's an external link. So just like you were saying, they're really pushing for that now. YouTube already did this, where when you want to, there's a limitation, I forgot, on certain features, either if it's like a cap on how many videos you can upload a day, how many thumbnails you can put a day. But if you want to do more, they'll say they got to verify who you are, either with your channel history, or if you upload identification of yourself, of an ID, like an actual government ID. I remember, what company was it? I think it was OpenAI that tried that shit, and they got roasted so badly, they did a complete U-turn, came back real quick, calm down. We just tested something out. We didn't go that route, you know, because that's what they're trying to push. The government, your actual government ID, but now they realize, no, they got to do a digital ID. The digital ID, if you're noticing, you're hearing it in different facets of society. It's not just in one. You're hearing it when it comes to health, with the who that, they talking about it. You know, when it comes to the banking system, they talking about it. So it's like this one thing that is remaining universal, right, across all of these things. And that's what they're pushing for. And like I said, that stuff, they're moving quick. They said in one of the videos I did, in the UK, they said, look, these tech companies, y'all got 3 months to get on board and get this done, or else we're going to force you with legislation. Let that pass. They said, we're going to make you do it. So you're either going to do it on your own, or we're going to make you do it. Because you're the platforms that allow these people to get onto your site to do all these things. So that's what they do, right? They make you dependent by creating these monopolized platforms. And once that's the norm, then they get you from there. But the on-device checks that they're trying to do, tying it to your digital ID. So you go and purchase a new iPhone. And then you say, okay, I'm trying to set up the iPhone, and you stuck on the setup loop because niggas is asking you for your digital ID. And you like, bruh, I don't got a digital ID. Well, you better go get one then, shouldn't you, huh? That's the AI. AI gonna be talking back to you. You might want to go get one. Because the UK introduced the digital ID. And they said this was for people to be able to work so that they can identify who is actually authorized to be able to work and so on and so forth. A lot of people weren't falling for it. So rather than come and say, we're going to throw you in jail unless you get a digital ID, they say, okay, fine. We'll hit you where it hurts. Try setting up that new iPhone. And then let's see if you want to get digital ID after that or not. So now you're like, yo, I just bought this freaking $2,000 iPhone, $3,000 iPhone, and I can't even set it up. I can't even get to the home screen because it keeps asking me for this damn digital ID. Then you got to restart and answer 200 questions just to get back to the starting point again. And now you're stuck on this shit. And they telling you your phone is going to be in child mode. Like how if you got a child, you put the parental controls on there. Your phone is going to be in that mode by default until they can prove that you are an adult. And they prove that by finding your identification. So if you don't give them your ID, then they're going to tell you, well, I'm sorry, we're going to treat you like you're a child. You can't
But
fully use this phone.
the thing is, how many children at that age can actually go and afford an iPhone at $2,000? Like, really, who's that rich as a child at that age, who's underage, that they're saying they're doing all these things to protect? How many of them are actually going out there and actually purchasing this on their own? Isn't it supposed to be the parents that are buying it for them? And if that's the case, the responsibility doesn't it fall on the parent? How come the government and these corporations are the ones telling you that they bear responsibility for individuals' activities and actions and so on and so on? When has that ever been a thing? When did your government have to be the one to police your children and your household because you can't parent? That's never been a thing. So clearly they're using this as a sales tactic to bring in this new draconian world, because if everything is based on safety, it's hard for you to push back against it. Because if you push back against something that's meant for safety, what does that make you? That makes you dangerous. That makes you a domestic T. Why are you in society? If we're trying to make things safe and you say, no, this is not going to make us safe, then what are you trying to do? What are you trying to hide? Right? Like Klaus Schwab, he said that privacy is going to be like, it's an obsolete thing. It's like, forget about it. Because if you have nothing to hide, what are you so worried about, your privacy? You see, and people, the dumb people, all right, the animals, the sheeple, the goats, right, who are going to be set up for sacrifice to him, they're the ones who say, oh, but if you have nothing to hide, then what's the problem? I mean, they could look at anything. I have nothing to hide. But yeah, there's a reason why you wear clothes, right? You have nothing to hide, but you wear clothes. There's a reason why when you're taking a shower, you have shower curtains, you have doors, you have curtains on your house, right? How many people when you're walking past their house, you could clearly see inside of their homes and what they're doing, unless they want you to. But other than that, most of the time, people have things going on because of privacy. Okay, even window tints. People put window tints on their cars for privacy. Okay, so it's like the whole concept of privacy is not a thing about hiding something or not. It's just about having space to yourself. Some people just want to have that intimate space, but Esau doesn't want to give you that intimate space. That's why he pushes surveillance everywhere. There's cameras everywhere, even your phones that you use. Now he says, we're going to take this shit to the next level where we're going to be underneath your skin. So it's not about, privacy. If you're hiding anything, you don't have to hide anything, right? If you're having an intimate moment with your woman, do you leave the door wide open for the neighbors to come and hear you and see you doing that? You don't do that. But are you doing anything wrong? No, but you're doing it for what? For privacy. But Esau says, no, we're going to have ring cameras everywhere. We could watch everything you're doing and, just to keep you safe. What are we doing? And guess what? You got different countries who are protesting these things. So now the governments have to be a little bit more cunning in how they're bringing these things about. They're saying, well, we're going to tie into your job now, because it's not really, we pushed the privacy shit and you guys shot it down. So we're going to tie it into your job. Now it's a mandatory thing. Oh, even better, we're going to tie into your health. It's a mandatory thing. You want healthcare? You have to have ID, right? You want to be able to drive on the roads with this new rules that we have going on. You have to have this new ID, right? No more you're going to be using a driver's license. You need to have this ID. Okay. Oh, you want to travel? You want to fly around the country? Guess what? You have to have a real ID. Okay. And all these things that's going on, like brothers were saying, the bread and circuses is a way to not only distract the people from actual real life events. Because I was even telling Bakar the other day that you got these people coming into America for the whole World Cup. These people got to be the dumbest people on earth, because if I'm in 2026 and I see the current state in which the world is in right now, the last thing I'm trying to do is go to America to go watch some World Cup when I could watch it on my TV. It's not that deep. Okay, it's not that important. It's not that deep, bro. You see, so people are not considering the reality of prophecy. They're not considering the times that we're in. This is unprecedented times, but yet still they want to treat it like it's normal. It's not normal, bro. We're not living in normal times. When you have gas prices in the fours, you shouldn't be thinking about, oh, I'm gonna go to a World Cup. That's not normal. Okay, when your utility bills are skyrocketing every month, month to month to month to month, that's not normal. When you have wars going on around the world and it's affecting you and people are dying on a daily basis, that's not normal. Okay, when you have a country that's celebrating 250 years, and we know empires will live up to about 250 years and then they fall, and you're seeing every indication of America falling, and you still treat it like you're normal, that's not normal. And I told Bakar, I said, these people are the people the Lord has set up to bring here for judgment. Because in my right mind, I'll be a prudent man foreseeing the evil and go the other way. Right? When the prophecy in Isaiah tells you that what, flee out of the midst of Babylon, and you got niggas fleeing into Babylon, you stupid. You know what I'm saying? And what did Kamala Harrison say a few years ago? She said, people who are coming to the World Cup, don't come. Right? If you're going to be coming over the border, don't come. And then what did Trump say? I'm going to come. All right. You know, but we're seeing everything playing out step by step by step. All right. And later on, I'll do a separate lesson on something else that's also going into prophecy. Okay. In terms of the big powers finally coming into play. Okay. Remember, prophecy unfolds in phases, right? Every phase has its own bunch of prophecies that happens that affects the next phase, and it leads into the next phase, and so on and so forth. All right. And it all pushes towards the end, which is going to be very soon. All right. But your brother's got it.
God, get that in phone.
This is Psalm 64:1, and it reads, "Hear my voice, O God, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy."
Yeah, in my prayer, right? Which lets you know you gotta pray. Prayer is a communication between us and the Lord, right? So you got people that don't know how to pray. Well, you're limiting your avenue with the Lord. Okay, like today we get people's phone numbers, so or some contact information, so you can stay in contact with them, right? Because if you just leave it up to chance, what are the chances you're gonna meet them again? So you get their contact, right? So you can stay in contact, you know, whatever the case is. Well, you got to be able to pray to the Lord. That's our contact with the Lord. So as he says in my prayer, go ahead.
Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked.
Yeah, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. Because these counsels that they have, it targets us, right? It targets the majority of the people, but there's levels to it. There are those that they perceive are even more dangerous threats. Okay? And so we pray for the Lord to hide us, to cover us, to protect us, because these plans that they have that are coming along, remember, the bulk of what's going to be happening in Jacob's trouble is going to be the Lord using Esau, Edom, right, and these elites to bring about a destruction of society. And in their minds, they think it's a part of them carrying out their plans. But in actuality, it's the Heavenly Father using them to fulfill prophecy. So we've got to pray for the Lord to protect us in these times. And the sooner people realize that the true power lies in faith, the better it'll be for them. Because they want to do everything else but come and have faith in the Lord, and they think that they're going to have power in those things. Go ahead.
From the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword.
Meaning that they sharpen, the wet is sharpened. Now, how do you sharpen your tongue like a sword? Because when you look at it, when somebody's sharpening a sword, you have certain, like in the ancient world, you have certain stones. Today they use different means, but in the ancient world, there's a certain stone, and they would pour water on it on the edge of the sword, and then they would just keep, you know, moving the sword on the edge of the stone at a certain angle, and they will sharpen it to the point where it's very, very, very sharp. It's very hot, very hot. You know, it's very, very sharp. And then they would go about do their thing, right? So now you ever see, you think Jacob Rothschild's in the room somewhere, he got his tongue out on the stone, and he just like just going, you know, like a cat cleaning himself and shit. He just going ahead.
He did. That nigga did.
You're right, you did. You know, but whoever's alive, that's not what they're doing when it says they wet their tongue or they sharpen their tongue. Okay, their tongue goes into the things they say, but the power isn't in just what they say; it's in what they do. Okay, the legislations that they push out, the language that they use. A lot of them, these so-called legal teams and stuff, the word that they use, the way that they phrase it, they'll say, you know what? Legally, we do have the right to be able to automatically opt them in so long as we notify them and tell them that they have to opt out themselves. We're not going to come and ask you, hey, do you want to join this? No. We're going to say, hey, if you don't want to join this, you should opt out before this deadline. What that means is we sort of already took the liberty of enrolling you in this, but we can do that because we notified you. That's what they do. They find different ways, they spin it. Okay? That's the one in their tongue. They spin it so it looks like they're the good guys and you're the bad guys, but it's sharp. Okay? And that way they can come out with new legislation. That's crazy. New legislation, in order to entrap and ensnare people. There's a scripture that says that they make a man an offender for a word, right? How do they do that? Look at what they did to Daniel. What did they say? They said, the scripture actually tells you that. Matter of fact, let's go and find that. There's a scripture in Daniel, I forgot what chapter it's in, but it tells you that they couldn't find anything wrong. They couldn't find fault with Daniel. So what did they do? They did the same tactic that Esau does. Society's too good. And if it's too good, I can't have enough control. I need society to be worse. So I'm going to make society bad, and then I'm going to come and say, hey, I got some good for you. Because when society's bad, people want good, right? But anyway, it says they couldn't find fault with Daniel. So what did they do? They said, let's find the one thing Daniel cannot stop doing. And let's incriminate that. Let's criminalize it. And then we'll call Daniel a criminal. See, we got him. And that's what Esau does. To make a man an offender for a word is to demonize the word that we speak. That's it.
This is book of Daniel, chapter 6 and 4, and it reads, Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could not find none occasion nor fault.
And this is what
Start off at verse 3.
Start up at verse 3.
This book of Daniel, chapter 6 and 3, and it reads, Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes because an excellent spirit was in him. And the king thought to set him over the whole realm.
Now, you'll see some parallels between what we're reading here and in Psalm 64, right? Because it talks about how they shoot in secret at the perfect and how they're trying to find fault with him and their heart is deep and they try to set a trap for him. That's what King David was praying about. So what we're reading of here, though they weren't Edomites that were doing it, Esau is using the same tactic. This is just a practical example of what we're reading of in Psalm 64. That what did they do once they found out that Daniel, they couldn't find fault with him because he was so excellent? They decided to create faults. They decided to create means of doing that. That's the heart being deep. That's the diligent search. So what did these guys do? We'll read about the diligent search that they did.
Then verse 4,
Remember, diligence does not equate to righteousness. You can be diligent in doing something wrong, and you can be diligent in doing something right. So yes, they do a diligent search in wickedness, and that's why they become very good at it. Or if they're not really that good at it, they'll just make you really bad. So it seems like they're really good at it. Like, look, I'm not really that smart, but if I can make you dumber, then I don't need to be that smart. I can fool you with the most basic tactics. Yeah.
Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom. But
so what does that mean? They were looking for something wrong with Daniel. Like, how can we say that Daniel is evil? We got to find a way to make Daniel look bad so we can get him out of that position. Because he's a Hebrew. How is it that he's a Hebrew? He came here to our kingdom and now he's one of the top presidents. No. We can't have that. Daniel got to go. So they started plotting against Daniel. Go ahead.
Hey, and also too, remember, part of the reason why they had to conspire against Daniel was because, as you read in the third verse, I made you read that specifically. As a matter of fact, hold on one second. There's a specific word in there that I wanted to highlight because that's the same thing that we're going through now, right? Let me get that. Hold on a second. Daniel 6 and 3. It says here. It says, then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes because An excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. An excellent spirit, when you go into that word excellent, okay, right here, it says, to jut over or exceed, okay, to preserve, to be, to make plenteous, right, to excel, okay, to cause to abound, okay. Now, being that Daniel had an excellent spirit in him, obviously he was on the right hand side. He was a righteous man. And you living in Babylon, which is predominantly a wicked ass society that was worshiping gods and all these different things. If Daniel is made a governor in that realm, that means that he's going to institute certain policies that will go against those Babylonians' wishes, which is they can't go into their gods and all these different things. Eventually, that will be what's going to play out, because if Daniel's an excellent man and he has all this power in this realm, that means that whatever he's going to say is what we're going to have to deal with. And they ain't trying to be underneath the laws of the Hebrews like that, trying to go back to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Hebrews. This guy he was captive. He was brought over here. Now he's going to rule over us, and we're going to have to bow down to his rules and his God. Fuck that. Let's incriminate him. Let's set him up. So that way he looks bad in front of everybody else. That's the same tactics these devils is doing right now. Okay? The whole COINTELPRO, all these different things that they do is to set up the stage and push this image of negativity out there for the masses to see us in that light. Because if the masses was to follow what we're saying, it goes against the agendas and the narratives of this world completely. So there's a clash there. So in order for them to negate that power of Daniel, they had to demonize him. They had to set him up. Okay, and at the end, what happened? It failed. Just like this time around is also going to fail. All right, but I just wanted to highlight that real quick. Y'all brothers got it.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the brother Aharon's point. Also, you got some loud ass crickets, brother. Them crickets is singing, yo. Them shits is loud. I don't know if it's loud for you, but for me,
This ain't gone.
yo, them shits is loud. But just to add to your point, like what you were saying with with Daniel, how things will start to change. I believe it's in Bell and the Dragon when he proved that. Oh,
You ain't gonna do this, brother. You're not gonna do this because I got it right here.
oh, okay, Salakia. But yeah, you could bring it out. That proves the point.
No. Make your point. I'll bring it out after.
Okay. I was gonna say that in Bound the Dragon, basically they started saying that Daniel made the king become a Jew as well, because he started to see like, oh, the God I was worshiping really wasn't a God at all. So then what that starts to convert, starts to change. It's like, oh, okay, well now we gotta look at things differently. How many other gods have we been worshiping that really ain't true at all? So maybe what Daniel's God, and some of them did admit it, in Daniel the 3rd chapter, I believe, with Nebuchadnezzar, he admitted that, yo, Daniel's God is a God of gods. There's no God like him. So what? That starts to put down the other gods and starts exalting our God. But just to make that point.
Beautiful point. And that's the spirit, because that's exactly where we're gonna go. So jump there real quick to Bell and the Dragon, and we're gonna give an example of what Aharon you were mentioning about because like you gotta remember, right? He's in a heathen empire and he has some influence, right, governing the people, but you also got to be careful in how you go about it. So you can imagine, all right, if originally there were laws about maybe, the Babylonians, they don't care about the dietary laws, right? Daniel might institute something in there, something like, you know what, why restrict the people to just the king's kind of meat, right? Or like these abominable foods. He wouldn't call it abominable, but he said, look, wouldn't you be able to get more people to come and shop here and market here if you added lamb and chicken and stuff like that, stuff that, the Hebrews also eat, considering they're captives over here? That's more commerce. They're going to purchase food from over here. Like things like that, where it's like you're able to put laws in place where you're slowly putting righteousness in there, but then again, you're not raising the alert of everybody else. And you're still going to have those wicked, envious people see that, because on their side, they're like, this guy, you know what I'm saying? He's making life easier for the Hebrews, but at the same time, he's getting credit with the king with it. Now, an example of what Haran was saying was here in Bell and the Dragon, because what he ended up doing was after Darius had died, Darius the Mede had died, Cyrus ended up, basically taking back the kingdom, because Darius was ruling Babylon, which is a province under the Achaemenid Empire, which Cyrus is the king of. So after that, Cyrus basically took over. He came back and said, "I take my shit back." And this was the experience. Go ahead and read that. And how Daniel basically worked on the mind of the king using logic, which is what led to what Shalamar said about them saying, "Look, he done converted a king to a Jew." Because remember, well, the difference is when the Persians took over Babylon, the reason it wasn't like a full-blown war was because after they had taken out Belshazzar, it says that the Babylonians actually welcomed Cyrus in there. They sort of looked at him as like this liberator. You know what I mean? Like, come up in here, because remember that this guy, Nabopolassar, not Nabopolassar, this guy's name, what's the guy, this Belshazzar's father, Nabonidus. Nabonidus, he worshipped different gods, okay? And it is written, right? It said that he went about in his absence when Belshazzar was the regent. In his absence, he was rebuilding these different temples, right? For example, the moon god Sin, and so on and so forth. And remember, the chief deity of the Babylonians was Marduk. And so not all the Babylonians were really on board, especially with that sort of religious conflict that was going on there. But when they saw, when Cyrus came in there, because Cyrus wasn't coming in there trying to tell them you can't serve your gods. So they like that. Oh, he's liberating us from these demon family over here that are basically forcing these other gods upon us. Long story short, the people liked Cyrus because he wasn't trying to tell them you can't worship this god. In fact, he was kind of down with it. And that's what the Edomites did when they went and took over Egypt. The Ptolemies, they assimilated themselves into the culture of the Egyptians, marrying their sisters, you know, sort of merging the different beliefs and religion and so on and so forth. So the native Egyptians didn't really revolt too much against them from the start. Long story short, let's go into that.
So this is the book of Bel and the Dragon, chapter 1 and 1. And it reads, and King Astyages was gathered to his fathers.
Meaning he died. Now, in secular history, Astyages is associated with Darius the Mede. Okay? Go ahead.
And Cyrus of Persia received his kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel conversed with the king and was honored above all his friends.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Babylonians had an idol called Bel.
Yep, or Baal in Hebrew. Go ahead.
And there was spent upon him every day 12 great measures of fine flour and 40 sheep and 6 vessels of wine.
Imagine that. 40 sheep
Every day.
40 sheep daily. Bruh, listen, bro. Even the big bags of Babylon don't consume that much food. You know what I'm saying? And you got 40 sheep daily. Nigga, what? That wooden idol, no matter how big the statue is, it ain't even eating it ain't drinking an ounce of water. You put 40 sheep before it. So you see what I mean? Like, and what Daniel's about to do here is also going to be economically positive for the kingdom because you're wasting food. Go ahead.
And the king worshipped it and went daily to adore it.
Mm-hmm. But this was the Babylonian deity, and the king was Cyrus. He was a Persian. But why did he worship it? Because once again, he wasn't on some like, hey, you can't do this and all that. He was sort of down with it, and the people liked him for it. Now, Daniel knew what was going on for a long time because they didn't set up this custom when Cyrus came into power. This was there even during the time of Darius. But it wasn't until now, what we're about to read, that Daniel did sign about it. So obviously he knew what was going on. Go ahead.
But Daniel worshipped his own God.
Mm-hmm.
And the king said unto him, why does not thou worship Bel? Who answered and said, because I may not worship idols made with hands.
Now, this was after Daniel was already thrown into the lion's den once. During the time of Darius, right? That was Astyages. You know, what we're reading up in the book of Daniel, which we'll go back to, right? But this was after that. Go ahead.
But the living God, who hath created the heaven and the earth,
mm-hmm.
and have sovereignty over all flesh,
mm-hmm.
Then said the king unto him, thinkest thou not that Bel is a living God?
So you notice what Daniel did there, right? He didn't say, oh, I don't serve your God because your God is an idol. He's a damn demon. You a demon for worshiping. The Most High gonna destroy your ass. Matter of fact, let me get my hands on you. You watch when you just sleep alone, king. I'm gonna come into your chambers. I'm gonna take your head off, like David did with Goliath. All right? He didn't say all that. Why the hell would he say all that? You know, it's like you going to work, busting out fringes, talking about grabbing your manager by the neck, talking about you an Edomite. You know what I'm saying? Kiss my boots. You gonna be kissing the officer's boots when they fucking handcuff your ass and drop you to the floor.
That's not wise. That's some ISUPK shit right there.
Yeah, that's it. Good.
Seest thou not how much you eateth and drinketh every day?
So Daniel knew. He's like, look, clearly he probably perceived, because when you read about Cyrus, Cyrus was of a calm nature, right? At least this Cyrus. He wasn't the kind of rah-rah kind of ruler. He was of a calm nature, and he was also intelligent. So Daniel knew that, you know what, I could probably maybe reason with this guy. So cool. And he didn't go and approach Cyrus. Cyrus asked him, why don't you worship our God over here? And he said, oh, well, I mean, if you're asking me, well, because I already got my God that I serve. I'm not allowed to worship any other deities or idols. Go ahead.
Then Daniel smiled and said, O king, be not deceived, for this is but clay within and brass without.
So you notice what he's doing is he's sort of working that charm on him, right? Like Shalimar would say, but he's working it. He's working the charm on him, meaning like he's not making it a tense atmosphere. He's sort of like Daniel smiles because in his mind, it's like a child coming and asking you a very basic question, right? And you know what it is, but he's not scolding Cyrus. He's not belittling him. He's not saying like, yo, you're so like, how are you a king and you can't see right through this? Like, yo, you stupid, yo. Like, no. He's like, oh, like he's keeping it lighthearted because he knows what he's about to do. And when you look at how the Most High deals with us, it's similar. The Most High doesn't, he doesn't lose his shit. He's very long suffering. He doesn't just, you know what I'm saying? Because if he did, I mean, how many times the earth would have been recreated? Only he knows. But he doesn't do that because he knows already the power that he has. He already knows, like, bro, I don't need to get into a back and forth with you because the second I play my card, you're losing. You're done. Lost. Okay.
And did never eat or drink anything. So the king was wroth and called for his peace.
Read that again. Go back up a verse.
Verse 7. Then Daniel smiled and said, O king, be not deceived, for this is but clay within and brass without, and did never eat or drink anything.
So he's like, look, this idol right here, it's inanimate. This whole time, it has never actually eaten or drank anything. And then the king got pissed because he's like, what you mean? Hey, every time he's about to tell you. Matter of fact, go ahead.
So the king was wroth and called for his feast and said unto them, if ye tell me not who this is that devours these expenses, ye shall die.
So the king got angry, but because of Daniel's rapport, he didn't get angry and said, oh, Daniel, you're going to die because you disrespected the God over here. He got angry and he thought, Daniel is intelligent, right? And he's not the kind of, like we read, he has an excellent spirit. He's not the kind who's just going to up and just make things up about people. So is there something I may be missing? So that's why he called the priest. He called the priest. He's like, maybe let me do a cross-examination and let me question these priests over here because they're the ones who, you're a priest of this idol. So if anybody's going to know whether that nigga been eating or not, it's going to be you. And a lot of you been putting on some weight over the past couple weeks.
Hey, and back then too, kings had this pride to them that to make them look foolish or stupid was like, yeah, that's a death sentence right there. Even they show you that in Game of Thrones, right? Where if anyone made a king feel some type of way or look stupid, they got so enraged. It was kind of like, yo, your head is coming off. Like, who the fuck, like you giving me misinformation? Like, you don't understand the power I have here. So we always talk about how you have to, when you're reading the scriptures or even going through certain stories in the scriptures, you have to account for human nature, right? And that's how you be able to put the pieces together, right? The parts that are not specifically written in the scriptures, but while you're reading the words, you could picture it and be like, okay, yeah, I get it now. You get a better picture of what you're actually reading to get a better understanding of it. So you always have to, apply human nature. Like, okay, in this case, what's the king trying to say? Based on the context, how is that interaction even happening, right? Thinking of the context alone, it kind of gives you a little spirit of how Daniel even is operating, right? So it's always good to extrapolate with what's given so you can get what's not given, if that makes sense, to form a better picture. But yeah, brothers got it.
Yeah, that's what the investigators, detectives, and stuff, that's what they do. Yep. but that's why when you go back during the reign of kings, you would have their what do you call that, the court, the king's court, and they were expert in basically making the king feel good about himself because that's how you stay alive. You know, I mean, you make the king trust you and feel good, but then you also got to make sure that everybody else around you is not envious of you, because then they're gonna say something bad about you, and now you cook. You know. But anyway, yeah, just like Aharon was saying, you make the king feel stupid, like you trying to deceive him. Your head is coming off. You know. Go ahead.
Verse 9. But if ye can certify me that Baal devoureth them, then Daniel shall die,
Yeah.
for he hath spoken blasphemy against Baal.
Mm-hmm. So he disrespected this idol over here. So you better come in, because in his mind he's like, I'm pretty sure that the idol's been eaten. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure Daniel was wrong, but you better prove it. Because I know this is the case. So you got to be able to prove that Daniel indeed is wrong. Go ahead.
And Daniel said unto the king, let it be according to thy word.
It's kind of like how you had the prophets of Baal and Elijah, and it was sort of like, okay, well, now let's prove whose God is really who. Go ahead.
Now the priests of Baal were 70.
Mm-hmm.
Says,
That's 70. 3 scores 20 plus 10. Yep.
beside their wives and children.
Mm-hmm.
And the king went with Daniel.
So it's no wonder they're doing 40 sheep daily. The math ain't mathing. One idol for 40 sheep, or one idol for 70 priests besides their wives and kids. Go ahead.
And the king went with Daniel into the temple of Baal. So Baal's priest said, lo, we go out. But thou, O king, set on the meat and make ready the wine and shut the door fast.
So you start to see why they hated Daniel, right? Because them priests are listening like, oh, see, it's one thing for anybody to be onto us, but if all people had to be this guy who's onto us, oh my God. It's like that new guy who comes to the job and starts fixing everything. And he's like, yeah, we purposely left it broken because it's working to our advantage. Now you're going to come and fix it, and now one is going to make us look bad, but two, we're going to lose our advantage. And then
In other words, he was destroying the fraudulent shit that they were doing to get off in the society, just like today. The medical industry, the banking industry, even the pastors' religion. A lot of people are leaving the churches because the Hebrew Israelites, they're following the truth. So it's the same thing. Daniel's effect is literally on Babylon back then is the same effect that the men of the Lord are having now. Okay, we're calling out all the bullshit, as the Apostle Paul said, breaking down strongholds. Right, the things that has kept this society in such darkness, the Lord is using His prophets to break all those things away. And that's a war in and of itself. You're taking away our money, you're taking away our power, you're taking away our deception that we used to rule. This whole time we've been getting fat off of this shit, making the king think that the bell and the fucking dragon and shit, the whole entire thing that we've created, those gods, right? That we have people worshiping, including the king, right? He thought it was life. There was life in there. But now you got Daniel coming in here and exposing all this magician and magical tricks that we pulling over here and shit. It's basically revealing, all right, and taking the veil off of people's eyes, including the king. That's a problem, man. You exposing us. You see, that's what's going on today, bro. Same thing, man. So you know why they try to get rid of Daniel, like we're reading right now. It's shit like this that caused them to be so angry at him. But you got it, bro.
Yeah, it's called the Daniel effect. That's a lesson right there. Yep. Matter of fact, that's a series right there. Daniel effect. You go into the medical side and how what we're doing is bringing that down. You go into the religious side, all of that. But yeah, just like Aharon said, that's exactly. So you see why they started to, and now this is after the fact, right? So they're like, oh, this nigga don't stop. The first time using the Lion's Den, he didn't get the message. Now he's back at it again.
So verse 11.
Yeah.
Verse 11. So Baal's priest said, lo, we go out. But thou, O king, set on the meat and make ready the wine and shut the door fast and seal it with thine own signet.
The word fast meaning securely. Go ahead.
And tomorrow, when thou comest in, if thou findest not that Bel have eaten up all, we will suffer death. Or else Daniel that speaketh falsely against us.
So now imagine this, right? There's a lot of priests. You got different levels of these priests. You got some that are more sinister than others. You probably had some in there that were more afraid. Shit, yo, Daniel's onto us, man. Oh man, we're so cooked. We're so cooked. We're gonna die. And then you got the ones who reassured them in wickedness. Yeah, it's them. But listen, we've been doing this for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Like we run this shit. You know, stole that shit. I do this shit. You know, it's what I'm known for. So they're like, look, it don't matter how good Daniel is. He ain't never gonna get this one. Because the plan was put the food in there. We all gonna be here and witness the food be put in front of there, the idol, and then leave, and then close the door and lock the door and put your signet on there, so nobody can come in here until you come and open the door. Ain't nobody gonna know that we up in here, man. Of course we're gonna be all right. Even Daniel ain't gonna figure this shit out, and then we gonna get rid of him, and we don't gotta deal with this no more. End the story. So shut your mouth and get ready. All right.
Verse 12. And tomorrow, when thou comest in, if thou findest not that Bel hath eaten up all, we will suffer death.
So in their minds, they're like, look, if there's any day you've ever eaten swell, it better be today. Finish everything on that plate. And the plate too. Go ahead.
Or else Daniel that speaketh falsely against us. And they little regarded it, for under the table they had made a privy entrance.
See that they little regarded it. So they didn't think it was a big deal. They weren't worried because they're like, look, they made a secret entrance under the table. So in the nighttime, they pull up in there like Ratatouille and his gang and shit. You know what I'm saying? They pull up, they move the shit open. Ah, there we go. That's my favorite. They grab the food, they go and they devour the joint. That's what they do. So they're like, bro, you know, he ain't gonna figure this out, man. Ain't nobody gonna figure this out. And they probably made sure that little secret entrance is like when you go into some mad villain's library and there's that one book of all the different books in there. There's that one book. Look. When you watch the movies, man, it's scripted. So of course the guy's going like stumble and then randomly in like 2 seconds, oh yeah, that's the one. Listen, in real life it ain't like that. You gonna flip through mad different books and you can't find the right one. So that's how they thought it was. They're like, oh, look, we're gonna be all right, man. And I'm gonna eat all this shit. You know, ain't gonna be no problem over here. Oh shit. Go ahead.
Whereby they entered in continually and consumed those things.
So they were pretty smart in themselves. They were like, yo, look, we don't gotta pay for no food. We us and our families and everybody's gonna be good in the nighttime. Come up in here, we get the food, we go down. Because remember, Baal is an idol. So when we go to offer to Yahweh, we don't give him the worst of the worst. We give him the best of the best. We make sure that it is perfect. The best part, the fatlings, the best of the. So likewise, when they go to serve their idols out of the fear of their gods or their idols, they're gonna say, give him. We make sure this is the most well-prepared provisions for Baal. So hell yeah, these priests were having a good time for however long this was going on. Go ahead.
So when they were gone forth, the king set meats before Baal. Now Daniel had commanded his servants to bring ashes, and those that strewed throughout all the temple in the presence of the king alone.
So the reason Daniel found it hilarious is because through the faith that Daniel had in the Lord and the knowledge, he knew that obviously this is not real. That means it can't be eating. So he already took it out of his mind. There's no way the idol is actually eating the food. That only leaves one option. Somebody else is eating the food. Some way, somehow, is getting out of here. Now, you close the doors every night, and yet the food disappears. None of you have spiritual power to just teleport in there. So logically speaking, there got to be another entrance because somebody's coming in and out of this place. Daniel probably already figured that out long before this event right here. That's why he laughed. He smiled when the king said that to him. He's like, man, these priests think they so slick. And then on top of that, when you grow the suspicion, like, okay, of all people who could have an entrance in here, not regular folks are not allowed in here. So who are the ones that are allowed in here? The priests and the servants. So how would that go? Okay, maybe let me speak to some of these servants over here. You know, where have you ever seen any of these priests coming in here after the doors have been closed or coming around anywhere? Maybe you station a servant over here. Tell me what you see tonight. You know, and you just watch those. And you just watch the behavior of the servants. of the priests. You know, how do these priests act? They ain't never stressed about nothing. They get all excited when it comes to serving Ball the foods. Oh, what's Ball eating tonight? Oh, Bell, oh, he eating good tonight. Oh, we can't wait to serve him the food. You already solved the case right out here. But he didn't have a reason to go and do that. Because remember, if Darius was in power and Daniel goes in there, he's like, look, I'm exposed to you what the priests are doing. There's no guarantee that Darius would have been willing to go with this experiment. There's no guarantee Darius wouldn't have just been like, you know what, you pushed it too far this time, so your luck's run out. Kill Daniel because he blasphemed. So why would he go and endanger himself like that? All right, that's fine. I mean, there's no need for me to try and expose you. But now the opportunity presented itself, and he's like, all right, let's do it. So everybody's left. They set the meats right there in front of the idol. Go ahead.
Then they went out. Then went they out and shut the door.
So the last ones to leave was Daniel and the king, because he had his servants spread all the ashes on there. And then they left, and then they locked the door. That's like today when they have those if you leave DNA, when the investigators come in there, if you got DNA somewhere, there's a certain light they can use, and it shows, like, if there's like a sexual assault case, they can see like, oh, okay, there's drips of this over here and on the chick. Okay, so this is it. All right, let's scoop some of this up. Boom, boom, boom. Found this person, run it in the database. Who was here? Give me the cameras. Boom, pulled out the hammer. You know what I'm saying? So,
and sealed it with the king's signet, and so departed. Now when the night came, the priests with their wives and children, as they were wont to do, and did eat and drink up all.
Yeah, so these things, they came in there all happy and shit. You know them gophers that be eating your food and shit, your crops. They just pop their head up, beep. You know what I'm saying? The first person pops up, boom. Okay, there he goes. The next one, boop, boop, boop. Everybody crawls up in there with their children, but it's dark, right? And so chances are they didn't see the ash. The ashes are not like gonna brightly show. No, they probably didn't see it. So they stepping in there, you know, okay, let's come up and eat. Their mind is not even on that. Who's thinking that, oh, Daniel said he'll spread some ashes on. Ain't nobody thinking that. They're like, they happier because in their minds, they're like, look, today's gonna be a good day. We're gonna eat, and then we're gonna enjoy the fact that Daniel's gonna die tomorrow. I mean, damn, how much better can it get? So their mind is not on the fact that they're just literally exposing themselves as they're eating in there. Their dumbass kids probably dancing and shit too, you know, shark biting and all that shit. Okay. Go ahead.
In the morning betimes, the king arose, and Daniel with him. And the king said, Daniel, are the seals whole? And he said, yeah, O king, they be whole.
So at this point, it looks like, oh, okay, they ain't gonna go too well for Daniel, right? Because in the king's mind, he's thinking, if somebody's been stealing food, the seal is gonna be broken. Because remember, the king wasn't putting his signet on the door every single day. It was only today because he wanted to make sure. So what that means is only I can open this, because if anybody opens it and breaks it, I'm gonna know. So he comes up in there, he's like, okay, check one or strike one, the seal is still whole. He's not thinking his mind. He's like, Daniel, I don't know. This ain't looking too good for you, man. The seal is already there, so I don't think anybody came in here. Go ahead.
And as soon as he had opened the door, the king looked upon the table and cried with a loud voice, great art thou, O Bel, and with thee is no deceit at all.
So you see how effective Daniel's plan actually was? That even the king himself, immediately, he didn't even realize, he didn't even think to see the evidence. The first thing he saw is, oh, the food is gone. And even if the king didn't think about it, how much less the priest? Because remember, sometimes, like, it's like when you see somebody that you know at a place where you least expect them to be, it's almost like you don't see them. You may look dead at them in the face and keep on going. And your mind's, it looks like such and such, and then keep on going. Because your brain is not expecting to see them over there. So it's gonna just, yeah, whatever, and then go. You're not gonna even see them. That's how the brain works. It's distracted by so many things. Yo, you didn't see that thing that passed? No, I didn't. It passed right here. Yeah, it passed right there. Because your mind is on other things. Go ahead.
They say the mind throughout the day, you only pick up about 10% of what actually goes on, all right, around you. So like everything that you went through all day was only 10% of what actually happened. And I think it might be the numbers might be a little bit lower, but it's taking into account just you, like your actual daily experience. Everything that you thought, man, I had such a long day. I did this, I did this, I did. That was only just 10% of actually what happened, because guess what? You didn't see that red car that was on your side or that was right in front of you when you were driving. It was right in front of you, but you didn't see it. Why? Because your mind wasn't looking at it. Remember, you have your actual eye and you have the mind's eye, the actual eye itself. You see, what you see with the actual physical members is just so you can actually process it with the mind's eye. You see, so when you see something, once the mind's eye processes it, then it's computed in the mind. Then you can say, okay, this is this and this. You can differentiate what's what and so on and so forth. You can understand what you're actually seeing. But if the mind's eye doesn't see what the eye actually sees, it's not registered in the conscious. So therefore, you didn't see it. Okay, you saw it, but you didn't see it. If that makes sense, right? So that's why we always say, if those who have a spiritual eye, right, that goes into your mind's eye, because that's how you're able to not only hear things but see things and process it for what it is, right? And so the king, for your example with Bel and the dragon and Daniel, the king's mind's eye didn't go to the evidence that was presented to him. He just went based on the physical, which is, oh, there ain't no food there. Oh, it's gone, Daniel. Come on, you in trouble now. I like you, but shit is over with. But you got it, bro.
That's right. That's right. Go ahead.
Verse 19. Then left Daniel, and
Daniel left. So the king probably like, he all like, oh shit, see, I told you. Wait, why you laughing? What's wrong with this guy? you went mad or something? Like, you about to die, what you laughing at? Go ahead.
and held the king that he should not go in.
So remember, like, you're playing this out, right? The king opens the door, he sees the meat and everything is gone, and he's all excited, and Daniel stops him because he's about to take a step. He's like, hold up, because remember, you open the door, you look right there, you didn't look down. Go ahead.
Behold, now the pavement, and mark well with whose footsteps are these.
So he said, behold the pavement, meaning look down and pay attention. Now, whose footsteps are these? Now let's ask the real question. I wasn't in here. You weren't in here. The door was sealed. So how are there footsteps in here? Go ahead. Because, see, Daniel knew that at the time, it's not like they had like infrared vision or anything like that. So what did he do? He needed to create evidence. He needed to, all right, well, how do I prove these people were actually in here? I don't got cameras. Go ahead.
And the
And
king
also,
said,
real quick, also too, he knew it was going to work because the king, the priests, their wives, their children, they do this on a nightly basis. They never thought, it's a nightly thing, so it's a routine thing. So they're not thinking about, oh, when we done, we sweep up and we do this and we sweep up all the ashes. Even if they were to sweep up the ashes, then Daniel could have asked, yo, what happened to the ashes? Who came in here to sweep up the ashes? So he already had it in play that they're not thinking there's going to be ashes there, because every time they come up there, ain't no ashes there. So it's just regular night, let's party. Tonight is even bigger because we're going to party all night long, And then boom, now you get up and it's like, oh shit, there's evidence there, but I didn't even see the evidence because it was dark the whole time. Ain't nobody worried about it. Plus they were drinking.
Right.
Who in their right mind drinking and eating who's going to, hey, let's finish and clean up. Hey, make sure that there's no traces of us being here. They're not thinking about that. It's Daniel dying tomorrow. Let's even drink more to our God. So fuck that nigga Daniel type shit. Meanwhile, Daniel's sitting back like, I'll see you tomorrow morning. You got it, bro.
That's it. Go ahead.
Verse 20, and the king said, I see the footsteps of men, women, and children.
Yeah, that's like verbally they use those kind of things in like, when they're interrogating people, or even in like, let's say like a courtroom. What they'll do is they create like two scenarios, right? They get you on the defensive, and this is so crazy. They make you think that you won because you were able to defend yourself in one point. And you're all excited, like, yeah, see, that you weren't able to prove that I actually did this because I, in fact, wasn't here. I was actually here. And so at that moment, you make that statement thinking, okay, I'm good. They got you right there because they never cared about proving whether you were here or not. They wanted to know where you actually were. And you just told them where you were. And now the case actually begins, right? Okay, cool. So you mentioned that you were here. Now we didn't know that, but you said you were here. Around what time were you here? And then now you cook, right?
And then the king was angry and took the priests with their wives and children and shewed him the privy doors where they came in.
There you go, because now they were caught, right? They caught them over there. You got the priests, the wives, and the kids, and they got them all lined up. He said, "What's going on here?" At this point, it's like, I know it's been you. I'm looking at the footprints right now, and that's why he called the wives and kids, not just the priests, because these are grown men, so their foot might be similar in size. But how do you explain the tiny feet, tiny footprints, and how do you explain the feminine shaped footprints? You know, somebody got longer heels, somebody got longer toes. All of those are showing on the ground. So he's like, yeah, they got kids up in here too. So he calls the whole family come and stand over there. You know, one of them got a little the crumbs, maybe breadcrumbs or some shit on the side of his face. Hide that shit, nigga. You know, and they all standing there shit. And then at this point, even probably by the time they got there, they're already shaking. Because parents can be deceptive. But children, when they're scared, they give up everything. You know, there's a saying that says I think there's 3 people that tell the truth: angry people, drunk people, and children. They'll tell you the truth real quick, you know? So that child, he ain't gonna be able to tell that lie. He's probably shaking, and they probably even just look at the child. Look at him. He already knows. He's crying. They already knew who did it. Got it?
Where they came in and consumed such things as were upon the table.
Damn. So imagine what the king is feeling at this point. Not only is he feeling angry and deceived, but he's feeling bad because in his mind, he had ill will towards Daniel. But Daniel was telling him the truth the whole time. So now he's even more angry because he's like, you poisoned my mind against him, and you were deceiving me, and you were lying to me. And you literally played me for a fool. You stared right in my face and said, oh yeah, no, everything is good. Daniel's gonna die tomorrow. So he's inflamed. Remember, kings back then had greater pride. So he is inflamed. And he's watching them go and show him, okay, yeah, they move the table. They show the little privy under it. They open it. And he's just looking at it. So this whole time, he got the Homelander face on. You know what I'm saying? He's looking at him. Gave him the little, you know, you got to stop him right there. These niggas out here like, damn. You see, I've been doing this for a long, long time. And now he's probably thinking 40 sheep every day out of whoever's provisions it is, probably the king's, to take care of this so I can be feeding your families. Oh, you niggas, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a point. Yeah, that's why he said expenses, because 40 sheep, that's expensive.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Oh, verse 22. Therefore the king slew them and delivered Bel into Daniel's power, who destroyed him and his temple.
There you go. So the king slew those priests and their families, and then said, "Look, you do whatever you will with this Bel right here." And that goes to show you once again, right? Heathens, obviously, heathens are not. They're not Israelites. They don't have our God, but they're also not idiots. Common sense is still common sense. So Cyrus, when he saw this, he didn't say, "Oh, God, you know what? No. Bel still has to be the real God. I don't believe what you're saying. I'm stuck in my ways." No, he's like, "Nah. I mean, what am I going to say at this point? You just literally proved it to me." Same with Nebuchadnezzar, right? When he saw them come out the furnace, even he himself is like, look, I'm a heathen, but even I got to admit that the God you serve has to be real. So he kills him. He said, "Look, you do with him what you will." And what did they say about the king? Go ahead.
And in that same place, there was a great dragon.
Okay, that's going to go into another part of it. We don't need to go into that part with the dragon. But this right here, now jump back. Matter of fact, hold on. Before we leave from here, find the part where it says the king has become a Jew. Somewhere, maybe towards the end or something like that. Down, king, and fries. Yeah, whichever one it is. There should be a part in there because they got mad that that Daniel destroyed Bel and also killed the dragon, and they were pretty much about to revolt against the king.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
All right, bring it up.
Well, we jump to verse 28, same chapter, same book. When they of Babylon heard that they took great indignation and conspired against the king, saying, the king is become a Jew, and he hath destroyed Bel. He hath slain the dragon and put the priests to death.
Mhm.
So they came to the king and said,
Yep. And then we get on there. So right there, going back to where we started, right? Let's go back to where we started. That's an example, even though this was after the fact, that's an example of why these people hated Daniel in that position. Because they're like, look at the things that he's doing, but but we can't fault him for it. We don't like it, we don't agree with it, but we can't find fault with it because he's not committing crimes. So what do? We got to find a way to incriminate him. We got to find a way to get him. And imagine they're surprised when they do find a way, and then Daniel still survives that. God,
back to Daniel. Back to Daniel 6:3. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes because an excellent spirit was in him.
yeah. And remember, this is them, an example of doing the diligent search, right, and whetting their tongue like a sword. Go ahead.
And the king thought to set him over the whole realm. Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel.
They sought to find occasion against Daniel. That's where the diligent search begins. That's when you start looking, okay, how do we find fault with this guy? How do we find fault with these men? Why do you think it's been so long? Why do you think they haven't just come out and just said, look, we're doing a full-on assault on these Israelites, and we're just gonna go and get them? Why do you think they haven't been able to do that? They've been gathering information, intel, using AI. They've been doing all these things because they're trying to find what is the perfect moment, the perfect time. Like, how do we do this? Because we only get one shot at this. This isn't the Black Panthers. This isn't any of those other groups. We only get one chance at this. All right.
Got a quick precept for you.
Yes, sir.
Is the book of Psalm chapter 69 verse 22. It says, let their table become a snare before them, and that which should have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. So it's another example of how, even going back to the time of Haman, all right, he tried the same thing. And what happened? The same exact trap that they always set to come against Jake, the Lord uses it against them. That's why through the Spirit, I was saying months ago that AI that Esau is trying to use now as a trap against Jake will ultimately be their heap of ruins. It will bring their ruins. It will bring faster their kingdom, their downfall of their kingdom. And they don't even know that. You see, it's always going to work in the opposite. It's going to have an opposite effect compared to what they want, compared to what the Lord is actually going to do. Okay, so Psalm 69 and 22, it says, let their table become a snare before them, and that which should have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. So same thing with Daniel. They try to set him up, but it's going to be a trap onto them as well. All right, same thing with the three holy children. Same thing. Okay, y'all brothers got it.
Gotcha. All right, Shalom, y'all got anything? Y'all got anything I can hop in? Okay. Boom. Go ahead.
Daniel 6:4. Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could not find none occasion nor
Yeah.
fault.
So they try to find, and that's like today, right? They sit there and they say, okay, so we need them off the streets and we need them off the internet. And so how are we going to do it? Then they try to have their own mini councils, right? They get to their little round tables and they start discussing ideas. Oh, I mean, we could just say they're criminals, but what crime are they committing? Or do they not? So one of them says something, and the other one answers, says it plays devil's advocate, even though they're all devils. But then the other one says, look, but I mean, it's in the amendments in the Constitution that they do have a right to gather and they do have freedom of speech and they do have freedom of religion and all of that. So, I mean, what can we actually really get on them? What is it that they actually do? Oh, they go to the street corners, they bring out their Bibles, and then they speak the word of God. How do you criminalize that? So they can't find something concerning the laws that are actually implemented in the society to say concretely that we're going to take them and we're going to use this as legislation and we're going to say, okay, now we got it. We got them. They can't do that. And just like back then, they couldn't find fault with Daniel. They couldn't say Daniel has been stealing. Daniel has been committing this act and he's breaking this law. They couldn't find that. So what did they do in their quote unquote diligent search? What did they end up doing? Right?
For as much as he was faithful neither was there any error or fault found in him.
He was faithful. Did Daniel say, "Oh, this is a heathen kingdom, I'm gonna rip them off"? Oh, you know what I mean, these are heathens anyway, I'm gonna just lie and abuse the power that I've been given? And no. And that's something that's very important as well. Even when you look at King David didn't say, well, because Saul is trying to kill me, I'm gonna just kill him because I'm gonna be justified in self-defense or protecting myself and whatnot. I'm gonna just do it anyway. No, it doesn't matter if that would have been the norm. His men were urging him to do it while they were in the cave. But just because everybody else would have done it does not make it right. And it does not mean you have to do it. What would you do? And that's what make that when you look at great men of old in the past, that's what set them apart. They didn't just do something just because that's what everybody else would have done. They did it because they did what they did because their spirit told them to do it. They followed their spirit. And those that were guided of the Lord, they ended up doing good things from that. See? So, just be, there's a heathen, so I'm going to deal treacherously with them. But what does that say about you? You know what I mean? Like, what does that say about you? The Lord looks at that and he says, okay, you want me to make you king, but I don't see traits of integrity in you. I don't see traits of loyalty in you. I don't see traits of responsibility in you. I don't see you being a fair ruler. And I need a fair ruler. So, okay, you're let's say I got the heathens above you and I gave you a little position over them and you're going to defraud them. What's going to happen when you actually have power in a kingdom and these heathens are actually under you? If you were willing to defraud them in an unrighteous way when they were over you, how much more for when you actually have power over them? That's not going to be a righteous kingdom, man. So you gotta keep that in mind. Even just a side note, but even in the things that you do in the way that you live your life, it's not always about the circumstance or the situation, right? So often it's easy to just blame the situation. Oh, but this person did this. Oh, but they started it. But they said this. But they said, okay, but what did you do? Or what could you have done? The Lord looks at those things because why did this person say this and do that? Isn't that the Lord who made him do it? Why would the Lord do that? Maybe he wants to test you and you failed that test miserably. God?
So it reminds me of it's one of the laws in the
It's one of the laws. You were reading a certain book and they mentioned it. It's one of the laws of one of the books you were reading. Right. You don't need to be saying all that.
It's one of the laws in one of the books I was reading. There was this guy, he had power, wealth, and all that. And then he gave a little bit to one of the, I don't know if he was a servant, but one of the people under him. And then he eventually rose up and ended up killing the guy that gave him wealth and all that because of his greed.
And that's in the book of Ecclesiasticus, right? Where it mentions like be careful of basically who you have around you. You got something? You got it?
No.
I'll say you good. You good with that.
No, Sulaki, without giving away, I know what you're going into.
That's it. Good. No, you're good. You're good. But it tells you that in Ecclesiasticus, the guy he's going to come crouching, and once he has everything he can get from you, he's going to overthrow you. And he won't hesitate to do it. And that's why there's that saying, I taught you everything you know, but not everything I know. Because the second they think, oh, I got everything, oh yeah, cool, now, boom, look at that, I got you. Yeah, that's a good point. Go ahead.
Daniel 6:5, and it reads,
oh, so at this point, they can't find anything wrong with Daniel concerning the kingdom. And they can't find anything because it says that he had a righteous spirit in him. So now they got to go the other, and that's what these so-called law enforcement agents and authorities do. What do they do? They'll plant fake evidence in your car, and they'll say, "Oh, look, you're guilty. I caught you because you got weed and marijuana, and all these different things." Hold on. There you go. You got all these different drugs in your car. You're like, no, I didn't have that in there. Yeah, they planted that in there because they really wanted to get your ass, but they couldn't because you ain't do nothing wrong. So they had to make you do something wrong. You know what I mean? You told the truth. Now they got to turn that truth into a lie. So you said, and that's what Esau would do. See, this is the madness of the Edomite. I'm going to tell you the madness of the Edomite right now. An Edomite will say, look, this guy said 2 + 2 is 4. that's correct. But we got to make it not correct. So we're going to go change the history books and we're going to revise mathematics itself and change arithmetic and say 2 plus 2 is actually 5. Because it's not really 2 plus 2, it's 2 plus 3. There's never been a 2. I don't know what you're talking about. That's the madness of an Edomite. Just to make sure you wrong, you're gonna go back and revise history and say, no, ain't no such thing. Nobody figured out what 2 plus 2 is. It's a theory. It's always been 2 plus 3. And in fact, it's actually 5. So we got your ass. That's what Esau do. And that's exactly what they do it. And that's exactly what Esau's doing now. Look.
Hey, framing mischief by law, right there.
There you go. Because, like, think about it, right? All the things that Esau is doing, he's taking so long. He's like, we created this digital infrastructure. We're passing this digital safety act. We're gonna create a digital ID. We hate speech. We gotta combat hate speech. We do a epidemic. We do a lockdown. We do all of these things. We condition the minds of the people, all because there's these tiny one problem we gotta get, but we can't just get them. So we gotta alter the laws of everything else just to make sure we can frame them and then we can finally get them. That's how far he's willing to go for your ass. So you keep sitting there, you know what I'm saying, with the cheese puffs and the Doritos in your hands, thinking, you know what I'm saying, kick up my feet and just enjoy, you know, a video or two. Meanwhile, this devil is changing history and laws to come for your ass. So if he's taking it that seriously, you better be taking it seriously. That
Daniel 6:5, and it reads, then said these men, we should not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God.
There you go. So they finally came down to, after the diligent search, they watched and they watched and they watched. They watching everything he does. And they're like, man, look, we ain't going to get it this way. We got to go the other route. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's one thing he always does, and that's that God that he serves. And that, what did this guy do? What was the same thing? It's like Haran said, the same thing with Haman and Mordecai. The reason was because Mordecai didn't bow to Haman because he says in our laws we can't do that, and that ticked him off the wrong way. Once again, the madness of an Edomite. Look at this nigga said we're gonna exterminate all the Jews because there was one of them who didn't bow down to me the one day I came up in here, bruh. Like, look at all the shit he did, the whole deception, the manipulating, sending out the letters and all of this shit because one Jew didn't bow down to your ass. This nigga is crazy. Hey, that
Continuing, then
and you see that, Salakia, you see that in what they did over there in the east, where they're like, okay, you know, the Amalekites, they'll say, well, we're looking for somebody in this building, so blow up the whole block. You know what I'm saying? Let me drive the boat, blow the whole block up, because that way we gonna know that this nigga done. You know what I'm saying? Blow that shit up. Make sure that nigga dead. You know, once that's good, we're gonna be straight. So whether you got civilian casualties and whatnot, that's all right because we got the dude. That's what they do.
Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king, and said thus unto him, King Darius live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom, the governors and the princes, the counselors and the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statue.
They've consulted together, right? They've come together. Now listen to these words. It's the parallels that we read in Psalm 64. Same tactics. And that's what Esau is using now. So they came together and they said, look, we've come together because there's power in numbers, right? I mean, look, if damn near even today, right, the way the Senate or the House works is by majority vote. So if majority of people vote for one thing, it overrides the other. So they're like, well, if all of us came together and came up with this legislation, then I mean, you gotta go forth with it. Go ahead.
And to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing, that it be not changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not.
So today, that's like when you see Trump sitting down in the little Oval Office signing an executive order. The question that nobody asks is who creates these executive orders? You know what I'm saying? So there's always executive orders that he's signing. Where they come from? Who made them? Who put them together? What's in it? They'll just give you the little headline. Oh, executive order to do this and do this. You know, when they tell you the what, they don't tell you the who, what, when, where, and the how. How are you actually going to, you're signing into effect an executive order to do this, but how are you actually going to do that this? They don't ever tell you that. So that's what they did. They said, look, we came up with an executive order. This is what it is. This is how you do it. A whole executive order just to target one man. Right? But you know, the Lord loves that. The Yahweh loves that because he loves theatrics. He loves the story. I mean, what story writer doesn't love an interesting story? You know who are some of the most some of the people that love stories the most are story writers. And that's why they became story writers. They love a good, interesting story. They find inspiration in damn near everything. They look at this and say, oh, that'll make for a great story. I'm going to take that and I'm going to add some more to it. So that's why the Lord always has these extreme situations. Like, damn, Lord, like, do we have to feel the fire, the heat of the fire on our necks before you deliver us? Yes, because there's a saying that I heard, and it was that this is God's story, so let him write it, right? And that's basically like, stop trying to resist the things that the Lord is doing. It's his story. He's the director. So just let him write the story. Just go along with what he has written. That's how you get the best story. So the Lord is like, look, yes, I wanted to put Daniel in this situation. Yes, I wanted them to have this legislation and all this for that, because that way I can show and magnify my power. But it's an interesting story. We still tell it till today. We're reading it right now. You got atheists that know who Moses is. Now, if the story of Egypt was just about a Hebrew prince who grew up as an Egyptian, was raised as an Egyptian, became an Egyptian ruler, and then continued enslaving his own people, and then one day 2 or 3 of them escaped from Egypt and ran into Canaan, and then the nation of Israel was born. People wouldn't really know who Moses is. He'd just be another person. But when you have the plagues, when you have the Passover, when you have a holy day that comes from it, you have the Red Sea that's parted in half, you got all this going on, that people won't remember that. You know, Moses, you know who Moses is? Oh yeah, ain't he the one who parted the Red Sea? That's probably that's probably the one thing that if they know anything about the Bible and they know about Moses, that's what they know him for. Oh, he's the one who parted the water, you know, bro. They even got jokes. You know, Barbara parted your hairline like Moses parted the Red. You know, like they know, you know, because the Lord wrote such an interesting story. Why is it that when you even deal with these historians, you know what's one of the main books they try to prove wrong? The Bible. You don't see on Discovery Channel, they got dedicated sections to proving the Quran wrong. You know, they go in there and they say, oh yeah, you can see Muhammad, you know, he got the book, but in this hadith, it said this right here, but over here it said, they don't do that. You don't see them going in here and say, oh, in the Quran, it said this, so we're going over here to try and excavate this part and try and prove this wrong. You don't really see that. What they're trying to do is the Bible. Noah Harari ain't talking about the Quran or the Kibra Nigas. He's talking about the God of the Bible. That's what that's who they're trying to compete with. Why is that? Because that's the only God that's real. God.
Verse 9, wherefore King Darius signed the writing and the decree. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he did aforetime.
So Daniel was not an idiot, right? Clearly, Daniel wasn't an idiot. In fact, he was considered one of the wise men in over there, right? So if he's not an idiot and he's a wise man, why would he, knowing that, keep his window open? That means somebody else would have been like, oh, at least I'm going to do it in my basement somewhere where nobody can see me. I'm going to use wisdom. You know what I mean? But Daniel was like, faith. He used faith. After he found out, he went and did the exact same thing that is now considered a criminal act. And that showed that that's the one thing that's a non-negotiable. He was not willing to negotiate. He was not willing to, no. It doesn't matter what you say. All of a sudden, because then it's like you fear man over the Lord. All of a sudden, now because there's a legislation, now I'm going to stop praying to my God? Hell no. So he found out, okay, cool. He probably left the meeting where they informed him about it, and then immediately went down and prayed and gave his thanks and did all his normal prayers with the windows open.
Hey, and part of the reason why Daniel was it was so easy for him to not even listen to all that is because just like how we deal today, we don't regard any other god on this earth like it's actually a thing that we should actually even pay attention to. Like we don't think of Allah and be like, oh man, at least they have Allah. We don't. It's like we don't even recognize them. Like they're not even anything to us. Like we don't look at other people's whatever they fucking worship as a thing that's of significance, like how they do. So that's the same thing as Daniel. Daniel is like, yo, I have a God. My God that I worship is my lifeline. You people don't even know what the fuck you're worshiping, bro. I know what you worship. I'm not gonna worship that shit. That shit's even beneath me as a man. I'm not gonna worship that stupid dumb shit. I have a God, the real only true God that is. And I worship him and I have an actual relationship with him. I speak to him on a daily basis. Just because I'm in captivity and you guys have your own laws and your own ways of doing things means I gotta acquiesce to that? No. I gotta compromise that? No. You see what I'm saying? So Daniel was in the mindset of my God over everything else. And you ain't about to tell me otherwise. You could have your God. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You wouldn't believe in that? That's fine. But the problem, it becomes a problem when you try to force me to believe in the same God. That's not going to work. Okay, so Daniel was in the mindset just like we are today of it's Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai and nothing else. There is no other God beside him. Right? So we don't look at them as something to be recognized. We just look at them as just toys or something that eventually we're gonna get our hands on and break up anyway. So it doesn't really matter. All right, because yes, we will destroy you nations and your gods. We're gonna destroy your gods, man. All right, just so you know, it's gonna be a major statement. The next 1,000 years of our first rulership, the first 1,000 years, you're gonna you're gonna see some shit. All that history from all them times, all those years, is gonna be null and void. All right, after the first 1,000 years, it'll be done away with. You're gonna get a fresh start. We're gonna start all over again, baby, underneath the righteous order of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai and the Israelites. All right, Ashar, you got something, bro?
Yeah, Khan, the water. Yeah, I just wanted to make a point about I was, listening to what brothers are saying, and the equivalent of what Daniel did back then for us now is us going out on the highways and hedges and making our bodies a living sacrifice. Because, like you said, that was a great point as to why he left it open for people to see him praying, because at that point he took a stance and he was well aware of what was going on in the empire at the time, the same way we are. The same way we see the headlines practically every day about anti-Sem this, they're doing this and that to say that if you're speaking against this, you're a big problem. And as that's happening, we double down. That actually emboldens us more to speak the word because it's showing prophecy coming to pass. So the same way that that's happening, we have to go out, and you see us out on the highways and hedges, and you see us putting our faces out here on the internet for the world to see, because we're standing on, hey, what does the scripture say? Those that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. Daniel stood stiffly for the name of the Lord in that moment. And now we're having that moment, and it's only going to get worse to where there's going to be an actual threat against our lives for what we believe in. As it is written in Maccabees, it says that it was illegal for anybody to proclaim himself to be a Jew. Okay, so the same thing we're doing now. We're proclaiming ourselves to be Israelites. And they're making that an illegal offense, just like it was for Daniel to believe in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. All right, so just wanted to add that this is our version of doing that, and being bold for the Lord is to come out here and proclaim it. That's it.
That's right. That's right. Hey, beautifully said. Beautifully said. And that's the thing, right? It's like it's a beautiful thing to serve Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, because of the fact that no matter what happens, we know that deep within us, if we were ever put in a life and death situation or whatever the case is, as long as we maintain our faith in the Lord, we're gonna be good. We have there's something. It's like that. It's like a trigger. There's a trigger somewhere that if you get close enough, it's gonna go off. And once it does, you're gonna be straight. Like the Lord, something is gonna happen. So that in our minds, it keeps you calm. You're like, yo, you know what? Something is gonna happen. Something is gonna happen. Like there's a reason why this happens, and that keeps you calm. Isaiah 33:6, it keeps you stable in mind. The problem with these people is they don't have that. They don't have something to expect when this goes bad. Like when you watch certain anime and TV shows like Dragon Ball Z, you know that this guy is losing. Goku is getting his ass beat, but that means that something is about to happen. He's either about to unlock a new transformation, or he's about to power up, or something is about to happen. And if you notice, most of the time, it's bad things that start happening, things that are going to push him to a limit. Krillin gets killed. You know what I'm saying? Like he does the spirit bomb and it fails. You know, Vegeta damn near gets killed. And he's like, you like, damn, all these things are happening, but it's a trigger. It's triggering something in him until eventually it awakens. Each time it's like he meets some challenge that is too much. Oh, no, he's definitely cooked now. What? He's fighting Jiren. This guy looks like an ant on steroids. How the hell is he going to win against him? And then, boom, he unlocks something. You know? So with us, we have that in us. It's a fallback mechanism that like kicks in and it picks us back up. Like a jump start. We know if our heart ever stopped, there's a spiritual defib that's going to jumpstart us back. These people don't have that, and they don't know that. So when they're in that situation, they're like, shit, like they're panicking because they don't know. They don't know what to do. We don't know what's going to happen. So if it was them, man, they would have stopped immediately. They would not have gone to their crib and bowed down to, no. They would have stopped immediately. But Daniel could have prayed in his mind. Daniel could have just acted like he wasn't doing it. But I mean, prayer, they can't read your Salaki, they can't read your mind. And you can pray in your head. But like Ashira was saying, it was a statement, you know, of openly doing it and showing like, look, you want to test the God that I serve? Go ahead. Come and do something. And that's exactly what they did. And they found out. Good.
Yeah. I can't help but think about when in Second Kings when the Assyrians besieged Samaria, and the king of Israel was about to kill Elisha because those are the same Syrians, you know, with Ben-Hadad, that Elisha had led over there when they were blinded, and had the king feed them and then let them go back. So the king was tight, and he put all the blame on Elisha. And then, you know, when they surrounded Elisha and his servant with like a mass army, and you know, Elisha was calm throughout the whole thing, and then his servant was freaking out. And then Elisha said, what did he say? He said, "They that be with us is more than they that are with them." And the servant didn't understand. And Elisha prayed to the Lord to open the eyes of the servant, and the servant saw when he opened his eyes. When the Lord opened his eyes, the servant saw all the angels that was around Elisha. And he was like, that's why he said that, you know. And the entire time, Elisha was cool. So, I can't. Wait. The reason why Elisha was cool because he knew the Lord was on his side. That's why he's calm. And man, oh man.
Yeah. Now you notice Elisha didn't pray to the Lord to send angels. He prayed to the Lord to open up the servant's eyes because the angel's already there. You know, and the scriptures say that they encamp around those that love the Lord. You know, so that's why we're in the best possible position. Look, nobody, let me tell you something. All right. Let me tell you something. Nobody else on this planet Earth is in a better position than we are. And the reason is because we're all cooked, except for the fact that we're good. Everybody's getting cooked. Okay. Esau is coming for everybody. He is coming for everybody. Even those that think that they're all right. Done. Even those that think that they're in a good case, they are not. Even those that sold out to Esau, they are not. Because once he shows his horns, everybody's getting cooked. The burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you. That ain't gonna be just us. When they institute digital IDs, you're gonna think they're coming only for extremes. You know what they're gonna start to deem as extremism? You ate 1 more ounce of red meat than you were supposed to eat that week. So guess what? You're going to jail. You know what's funny? There's a meme. There's a meme of this guy. I forgot what country it was, but he's basically on the video and he's like, if you overcook chicken, right to jail. You undercook chicken, right to jail. You know, you play music too loud, jail. You don't play enough music, jail. You know, he's joking like that, right? Every single thing is taking you to jail. And people laugh at that. Guess what? That's about to be reality very soon. Esau's about to implement that. You breathe too much, jail. And they show you these in some of those movies and shows where like you got some where they depict people with like collars. There's a movie like that where they got like a collar on their neck and it's time. So they got to like buy time to keep on living. And people think like, yo, that's extreme, that's wild. But these are going to be, it's going to feel like that when Esau fully implements that dystopian future that he wants. Because that's the control that he wants. So everybody's going to be in that case, except we're going to be delivered out of it, Lord willing. That's why we're in the best case possible. Because what we're doing right now is resolving our ticket to be delivered in that time. I sure yes, sign.
I was just gonna say, he said, undercooked fish straight to jail. That was the same dude. Yeah, it's like nowhere anything you do, basically you're gonna be done for, and that's what's gonna happen with these people, man. The social credit score system, and you offend even in the slightest way. Trump might have just seen something you post on IG. You might have been rooting against a team that he likes, and hey, straight to jail. That's how it's gonna be.
That's right. Exactly. Yes, sign Shalma.
Yeah, just real quick. They show you that in The Boys season 5, like I think it's like the first episode, Homelander was complaining, like, do you see the memes about me? And then he was telling Sister Sage, yeah, we just gotta kill them all. It's like, you want to kill them all just because of that? But, just to explain to you, they show you that type of stuff through TV shows to show you what type of time that they're on. It's like relaying a message to you subliminally.
Exactly. And that's the thing. People don't see those messages. They see it, but they don't see it. Go ahead.
This is Psalm 64:3, and it reads, "Who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not."
Yeah, because what happens is when they pass a certain legislation or they sign a certain executive order, most people are not thinking, oh man, these damn elites at the top level are giving orders again to target me because of my income is too high. They're not thinking that. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, they're trying to destabilize the nuclear family by giving women right to work and so on, and supporting women and all of that stuff. That's not what they're thinking. So they're able to, quote unquote, do it in secret, even though they're the authors of it. Even though they're the authors of it, right? So it's like hiring a hitman. It's like hiring a hitman to hire 3 other hitmen in sequential order. So you hire somebody to hire somebody to hire somebody whose cousin knows somebody to hire somebody who's a hitman to take out somebody. And it's like you can't trace it back to you. So you're the cause, but you're doing it from a hiding standpoint, a hideout. Go ahead.
They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily.
Yeah, they encourage themselves in an evil matter. So when they're talking to each other and they're saying, like, we encourage one another, and we do that. The scripture mentioned that, right? When we edify each other daily. When we do these lessons, it encourages one another, right? Because you're hearing people in like mind, you're remaining in the faith, you're keeping your mindset right. It's encouraging one another. They do the same though. When they're planning these things, they're like, okay, let's do this. Oh, what about this? They have their little think tanks, They encourage one another. Oh, well, that might not work, but this might, and they reinforce each other's ideas. And then they're like, okay, this sounds solid. Let's go ahead and do it. And in evil work, go ahead.
They say, who shall see them? They search our iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them, and the heart is deep.
Yeah, and this is why Pharaoh said what he said. Who is Yahweh that I should obey him? Right? Who is the Lord that I should obey him? Because the Lord had, his presence wasn't as widely known for so long. And it's the same thing now. It's like after Yahushai, after that time, the scriptures tell you in 2nd Esdras, the world shall return to that old silence. That's like the Lord after the flood, where it's like only knowledge of the Lord was esoteric. Most people, even if they heard of him, they didn't really believe it until he showed his power in Egypt. And it's the same thing now. Ever since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were since the beginning. So most people, even though they hear about the Lord, whatever. And it's like the Lord is gone dormant until he shows his power again in this Egypt. So this modern day Pharaoh is like, who's Yahweh that I should fear him? He doesn't see us. Go ahead.
Verse 7, but God shall shoot at them with an arrow.
Mhm.
Suddenly shall they be wounded.
Mhm.
So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves.
Suddenly shall they be wounded, right? Jeremiah 51. Babylon is fallen suddenly. Howl for her, take balm for her. If so be she may be healed. No, she ain't gonna be healed. Go ahead.
All that see them shall flee away,
Mhm.
and all men shall fear, and shall declare the work of God, for they shall wisely consider of his doing.
There you go. They shall wisely consider of his doing. And how are they going to do that? Because we're over here heralding the Lord. Everything he does, we're giving him the credit for it. Yep, the Lord did that. The Lord is going to do this. The Lord did that. The Lord is going to do that. We're announcing everything the Lord does. And so once the Lord, takes us off here, and he's like, all right, cool, it's good. Now let me do the things that you came in forewarned about. At that point, that's it. It's game over. And Esau, Edom, the other elites of these other nations, all of this is gonna easy, because this isn't the first empire to think that it was great. This isn't the first empire to think that it would last forever. All these empires thought the same thing until their time came, and look at how quickly the Lord crumbled them. So it's a light thing for the Lord to take down an empire. The scriptures say he sets one up and he takes down another. And we on the seesaw and we coming up, and Esau sees himself going down. That was it on that? A little more.
The righteous shall be glad in the Lord, and shall trust in him, and all the upright in heart shall glory.
There you go. And that's what we're waiting for. So with all this that's going on, with the World Cup, with the bread and circuses, with the Iran bombings, and then the apparent peace deal, but then they're preparing to go up in there and steal the uranium and blah 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 blah, all this shit, double agent shit, all of that stuff is all distractions. And there's something more sinister at play here. There's a catalyst brewing that's about to really, 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 rock this world. You rock my world. It's about to rock this world, and people are not ready for it. But we waiting. We waiting. So that's pretty much it on that. Brothers, got anything else? Okay, cool. All right, perfect. Cool. So we can end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying onto the elect. In closing, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rechak, Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.